Welcome, fellow Slim Fast kids, to the very first episode of Slim Fast Kids, the show where we unpack how diet culture threw the millennial body image party into major chaos. I'm Mira.
And I'm Jax, two AA millennials here to guide you through the madness of diets, gym fads, and the cultural freakouts about our bods, all sprinkled with a little snark. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty.
Today, we're throwing our neon windbreakers on and hopping into the time machine to the glorious dawn of diet culture, the radical 1980s. Or, as I like to call it, when aerobics was life and misery got powdered.
Mira, exactly. Because nothing screams healthy like sweating in leg warmers to Madonna while feeling personally attacked by your reflection.
One meal a day and you'll fit in those jeans. Oh, slim fast dreams. You're the king of the schemes. Shake it up, drink it down. Feel the frown, slim fast blues. Yeah, they may be a clown.
Diet culture in the 1980s wasn't just about weight loss. It's fundamentally rewired how generations would think about their bodies and self-worth. The decades that gave us shoulder pads and aerobics also served a toxic cocktail of shame, aspirational marketing, and pseudoscience that we're still digesting today.
And honestly, it's pretty disturbing when you think about it and how those messages shaped an entire generation's relationship with food and body image.
You know what's really striking about this era? The way the fitness industry exploded alongside these diet products. Suddenly, you had Jane Fonda selling millions of workout tapes while magazines pushed meal replacement shakes as some miracle solution. I remember in the 90s, my mom doing these diets, so I know she was influenced.
Speaking of those shakes, isn't it wild how they marketed them? Like somehow drinking flavored powdered mix with water was supposed to be more scientific than eating actual food.
Oh my goodness, yes. And the advertising was relentless. Studies show that by 1985, Americans were exposed to roughly 1,800 diet-related ads per year, with over 40% targeting women specifically. I couldn't tell you how many of these ads are stuck in my head. I just knew if I wanted to lose weight, I needed lean cuisines.
Lean cuisines were definitely everywhere, or just those TV dinners in general, but that level of messaging must have created some serious psychological impact on people. Like, how did people process all of that? Does it show?
Yes. And research from the American Psychological Association shows that exposure to this kind of intensive diet messaging during the 1980s correlated with a 300% increase in reported eating disorders by the early 1990s. The diet industry basically created a perfect storm of shame and aspiration.
And all while making billions of dollars in the process. The meal replacement market alone grew from 100 million in the 1980s to over 1.5 billion by 1989.
Right. And what's really interesting is how this intersected with the whole power woman aesthetic of the era. You were supposed to be crushing it in your career, maintaining a perfect body, and doing it all while wearing clothes that looked like you raided a linebacker's closet. They really set us up for real.
I actually like the shoulder pads of the 1980s, but I could only imagine the pressure to have it all while maintaining an impossible body standard. That's quite a burden to put on people, you know?
And let me tell you about the science behind these diet products, or rather the lack thereof. Most meal replacements in the 80s contained around 70% sugar, yet somehow claimed to be health food. The FDA didn't even start regulating these claims until 1990. I just knew this was true when I was a kid. Like, lighter sugar-free was the solution to everything.
Well, that certainly explains why so many people would feel terrible and then blame themselves rather than the products.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. Market research from the period shows that companies deliberately targeted women aged 25 to 45 with messaging that linked thinness to success, happiness, and even moral virtue.
So they weren't selling a product, they were selling an entire belief system.
Precisely. And the numbers tell the story. By 1988, over 65% of American women reported feeling constant pressure to maintain a certain body size compared to just 28% in 1975.
The cultural shift during those years seems almost unprecedented in terms of how quickly it happened.
You know what's fascinating? The fitness club industry grew by nearly 600% during the 1980s, but studies show that actual population health metrics barely improved. It was never really about health, it was about appearance and control.
Well, that certainly puts those neon leotards in a different light. How did this affect the next generation?
The impact was staggering. Research shows that children who grew up during this period were exposed to roughly 4,000 diet-related messages per year by age 12. We essentially programmed an entire generation to see their bodies as problems to be solved.
That's absolutely heartbreaking. And it explains so much about current attitudes towards body image and wellness.
And here's another layer. The diet industry's revenue jumped from $10 billion in 1980 to $74 billion by 1992. They literally profited from creating and maintaining this cycle of shame and hope.
The economic incentives to keep people feeling bad about themselves were just too powerful to ignore.
Exactly. And what's really telling is how the language evolved. By the late 80s, companies had figured out that using words like wellness and lifestyle sold better than explicit diet terminology, even though the underlying message stayed the same.
Oh my God. So basically, they just repackaged the same old shame in shinier wrapping. Typical.
And the data backs this up. Market research from 1989 showed that products labeled as lifestyle enhancers sold 43% better than those marketed explicitly as diet products, even when the ingredients were identical.
That kind of sophisticated manipulation really shows how calculated this whole industry was.
You know what's particularly striking? The way these companies targeted different demographics. They'd use aspirational messaging for middle-class women, shame-based advertising for lower-income communities, and health-focused campaigns for upper-middle-class consumers.
The social engineering aspect of it all is pretty chilling when you break it all down like that.
And let's talk about the medical community's role in all this. By 1985, over 70% of doctors were recommending commercial diet products to patients, despite limited research on their long-term effects.
That really highlights how deeply these ideas have penetrated every level of our society.
The psychological impact was equally profound. Studies from the early 90s showed that women who were heavily exposed to 80s diet culture were 3 times more likely to report persistent anxiety about food and body image.
Looking at those numbers, it's clear we're still dealing with the aftershocks of this cultural slim fast earthquake.
And Here's something that really puts it in perspective. The average American woman in 1980 saw more images of idealized bodies in one day than her grandmother saw in her entire lifetime. The constant comparison became normalized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And truly, that's such a powerful way to frame that unprecedented nature of the shift.
The legacy continues today. Recent studies show that over 80% of 10-year-old girls have already been on a diet. That's a direct result of these messages being passed down through generations.
Well, how do we even begin to unravel something this deeply embedded in our everyday culture? Like, we see this every day, even now.
Well, that's where we're seeing some interesting developments. The body positivity movement, which really gained momentum in the 2000s, can be directly traced to the backlash against 80s diet culture. It's like the pendulum is finally swinging back.
Though we're still fighting against billion-dollar industries that profit from these ingrained insecurities. Like, it's never ending.
Exactly. The diet industry is worth over $70 billion today. And while the messaging has evolved, the core strategy remains the same. Create a problem, then sell the solution.
That really brings us full circle to how it all started in the 80s.
And perhaps that's the most important lesson from all of this. Understanding how these patterns were established helps us recognize and resist them today. The 1980s didn't just give us big hair and synthesizers. It gave us a blueprint for how industries can reshape cultural values for profit.
Here's hoping the next generation can learn from our mistakes and cultivate a healthier relationship with their bodies.
It's crucial to remember that changing these deeply ingrained patterns takes time and conscious effort, but understanding their origins is the first step toward breaking free from them. Well, that's it for us today. We will be back next time to move on to the 1990s, where we slim fast kids continue to unpack the canned trauma we received. Until next time.
In those jeans, oh slim fast dreams. You're the king of the schemes. Shake it up, drink it down, feel the frown, slim fast blues, yeah. They made me a clown, 2 shakes a day, that's what they say, but I'm